Hello everyone, Grazzup5 here, back with another video. I might not be the biggest Battlefield fan, but I'm sure a lot of people can accept, ever since Battlefield 3, the franchise has been hit or miss. Don't get me wrong, there's been some brilliant games since Battlefield 3, but there's also been some stinkers. We're looking at you, 2042. Now, 2042 has not been the game that everyone wanted. In fact, it's been pretty bad for pretty much everyone. PC players, PS5 players, Xbox Series X players, and PS4 and Xbox One players. It's just not been that great. I'm going to go through a couple of problems with the game. And starting off with the first one, hit detection. Now, when you think of a shooter game, you'd think of accurate shooting. But yeah, Battlefield 2042 does not have that. Hitbox detection is pretty whack, and for a franchise that has been known for good gameplay, this is a big downgrade from what Battlefield 5 was, and we'll move on to that later. Another issue I have, even for Series X players, performances can be quite bad. There have been times where I've actually crashed in the game, and there's also been times where the frame rates have just dropped. And at that point, the graphics have gone down so low, it feels like I'm playing a PS2 game. Yeah, it's not been good for Battlefield 2042, and critics and gamers have had disagreements over ratings. You look at critics giving it maybe a 60% on Metacritic or something, but you look at gamers, they're giving it top 10 lowest rating on Steam. Yeah, you know how, when that happens, you know how mad the Battlefield fans are. After Battlefield 5, which didn't really take off the way that EA wanted it to, this was meant to be the game that, sort of was a bit of redemption, make up for the past mistakes. But you know what? It's actually made the mistakes even worse. It's made more mistakes than Battlefield 5, which had better hitbox detection, but yeah, it would sometimes crash. Well, for me at least. But 2042 just made it even worse. It just seems like AAA games are dying, honestly. And Battlefield is one of those games. Because this has been a definite low point for the franchise. And it's just sad to see, because as a rival to Call of Duty, it is done well to continue making games, because some of them haven't been exactly great. Looking back at Battlefield 5, I don't think it deserves all the hate it got, honestly. Yes, it was a World War II game, and we know what's begun up with World War II games. They've been milked pretty hard, so they're not that fun anymore. But I honestly enjoy Battlefield 5 enough to carry on playing it. I know it was a downgrade from Battlefield 1, which itself was a brilliant game, but it still had enough for me to carry on playing, because it had good shooting mechanics, and the hitbox detection was actually pretty decent. But there was a lack of content at launch, like 2042, and extra content didn't come on until a couple months after the game came out, which was a bit of a bummer and definitely killed the game. And the fact that they've continued this with 2042, when will EA even learn? I have no idea. Another game that wasn't too great was Battlefield Hardline. Yes, the cops and robber concept was decent, but not for a Battlefield game. It would have been decent if it was like a different game, but for Battlefield, it doesn't really stand up any good compared to the likes of Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 3, which I think was some of the best that we've seen in recent years, or maybe some of the best of all time. Battlefield 1 I really, really enjoyed, because it was a breath of fresh air. A World War I shooter, we've never really seen that before, so there was a lot of ways to innovate, and that's what EA did. And I think this is at the point where, Battlefield was starting to overtake Call of Duty, because this was the same year that Infinite Warfare came out, a game that nobody wanted, and this was a game that everyone wanted. A breath of fresh air where there was lots of innovation, and Battlefield 1 did that very, very well. Battlefield 4 launched badly, like 2042, but thankfully it recovered. After a disastrous launch where there was a lawsuit towards EA for being one of the worst developers in America, It soon recovered by releasing more content and actually, supporting the game and making it actually playable. And I respect EA for that, but they really should have been doing that with Battlefield 5, which unfortunately died pretty early in its life cycle. It did have potential, honestly, but Battlefield 5, but it should have got more treatment like what Battlefield 4 did, where it actually recovered. And Battlefield 3, well, we all know how good that was. That was probably the peak of Battlefield in my opinion, because it wasn't exactly a game that needed to be fixed, because it was already great. So in my opinion, I really do like Battlefield. It is a breath of fresh air compared to Call of Duty. I do enjoy it. The campaigns are good. The multiplayer it's fresh, but the couple of the recent games just have not been great. Battlefield 5 I did enjoy, but was a downgrade from Battlefield 1, just because a World War II shooter, it just didn't do it made COD World War II look very good, and even that game wasn't exactly amazing. And Battlefield 2042 was just a big disappointment. Even with 128 players on 9th gen consoles, it sometimes feels like you're playing on the PS2, because sometimes the frame rates go down, the textures don't always load in. It's just got problems where you'd think with previous success they would have just not had to go there and fix it. But no. With future technology and like much better processing graphics, the companies have just been too ambitious, so a lot of games have flopped, honestly. And Battlefield, I do enjoy it, but yeah. Hope you guys like this video, like and subscribe, see you then.